We are live. We are live. Love it. Welcome, soul family, to Conversations with C, where we highlight spiritual thought leaders from around our world and beyond. My beautiful guest today is Kasey Ford. Kasey is a transformational life coach. She is dedicated to helping women reclaim their thrones of their hearts and get the love and the lives that they want by teaching them energetic and emotional mastery. She's going to tell you so much more. Kasey is also an incredible astrologer, which is how I was first drawn to her. And I'm excited to talk to Kasey about astrology tonight. She's also a past life regressionist. So there's so many questions that I want to ask you and listen to you talk about. And so welcome, Kasey.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. It's exciting.
I know. I'm excited too. Facebook users, tell me who you are, or click on that. Oh, it's Molly. Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Molly Manifest is here in the house. Hello, Molly. If anybody is drawn to share, please feel free to share. I'm going to just check real fast. YouTube, make sure we're all set. Right there. So, guys, get your questions ready. We are live on Facebook. And we are live, on YouTube. I just want to make sure where we are. Let me pin this. All right. I'm going to do 2 shares and leave it up to everybody else to do the rest of the sharing. Because I know you guys will, and I love you so much and appreciate you so much. Just share it to my story as well. You know what? Kasey, shall I share it to your group as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I certainly will.
Yes.
Can I do that?
You can. Hang on a second. I'm going to go in there.
Okay.
Go ahead and post. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay.
I dropped it on your timeline too, as I'm dropping it on mine. It's already on mine. Okay. And I'll just add. Kimmy's group, and Kimmy will be here any second if she's not already here. Oh, Kimmy's here. She's sharing. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you. And Molly is Molly? Probably still Molly is tagging. And can't stay grandkids here. Is that John? I can't see anybody's name today. I don't know why. Well, it says Facebook user. Hi, Christina. Hello. Well, good evening. Whoever, I love you. I just want you to know, and thank you for being here. And if you can stay, great. And if not, that's perfectly okay. The replay will be available on both YouTube and Facebook. But if you really want to help out my channel, watch it on YouTube on the replay. Yeah. All right. So we're all set while everybody's going ahead and sharing this out for us. Let's start out by... I would like to ask you a little bit about yourself, because you have this beautiful dynamic presence and you post all this amazing stuff about astrology. And you gave me a personal astrology reading recently, which was just spot on.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really amazing. And I know that you use it to coach women and to help them to find what they need to heal. I want to give that to you and ask you if you want to share a little bit about yourself and then get us up to speed about what it is that you do, and then throw in questions and all kinds of good stuff.
Okay. At heart, I'm a creative or a creatrix, and we'll talk about that. But in my former life, I was a kitchen designer, high-end interior design degree, high-end kitchen design, mountain towns, a lot of second homes type stuff. And I've always been fascinated by astrology and followed astrology and loved mythology and just like psychology and behavior and animals, and just interested in what makes us tick and behave the way we do. And it's just been a lifelong journey. Like that was always my like what I would do for fun in my free time.
Gotcha. I understand that.
It kind of just pulled on me. And so I The dogs are moving around.
We love dog.
Yeah, they've got 3 big ones in here.
They're all welcome in the broadcasts.
Yeah, and so I've always followed astrology, and then I decided to stop what I was doing. I knew it wasn't doing it for me, and I needed to make a change. And I actually went to hypnotherapy school, so I have like 400 hours of this training, like professional training. And I had an office and saw clients professionally before I added in the astrology.
Okay.
But so the past life regression and all of that was my. I'm sorry, I'm like distracted. It was about this. I wanted to learn about the subconscious. Like that's what drew me to it. And someone I knew had given me a past life session.
Okay.
And it was just so interesting because if you look at the astrology and you look at the hypnosis, so you can do in hypnosis, you can do just a regression. The hypnosis is just a state of mind.
Right.
Okay. Brainwave state, right? It's where it's a brainwave state that's very healing because it turns off the sympathetic nervous system, turns on the parasympathetic nervous system. It lets us put the monkey mind in the back seat, get in touch with subconscious, but it's just a brainwave state. And so we can do these interesting things with the subconscious that we couldn't do when our conscious patterns are running. And it's all about like rewiring. But when you get into it, you can go back into childhood with regression and get the pattern. You can go to past life regression and get the same pattern, because that's the whole point, like how it comes in, how the thread comes through, and you're carrying the pattern. Then you come into this life and recreate the pattern, and then you recreate the pattern until you stop it.
So like, for example, with me, I basically married the same person 4 times. Totally different people, different ethnicities, different everything, except that it was the same exact dynamic in the relationship. So that was a pattern it took me 50 years to recognize. But is that what an example of something that you're talking about right now?
Absolutely. Because if you talk like to a therapist, or you can talk to a therapist, you can talk to a shaman, they're going to talk about the same thing in different language, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to talk about it in a specific language. So I can see the pattern in the astrology, and we can use the hypnosis to go back and like kind of do the aha moment, and then undo the wiring, undo the pattern, and then apply specific things to rewire. Because you want to rewire, it's like the gratitude practice studies show that you can rewire the brain. You can heal trauma. By shifting the focus consciously and just practicing. So it's that, it's finding the pattern, but also I like to use astrology. So when I say emotional and energetic mastery, I go hard Venus, and that nothing really matters without the foundation of self-love and self-value. Mm-hmm. Even if you're doing shadow work or it's really hard to take even a conscious look at yourself if you don't have the self-love piece in place, because then you're just going to be criticized. You're going to be turning that judgment on yourself when you find things. So that I like to start there. And the astrology helps that, because you're like, no astrology chart is the same. It's like a fingerprint. So in our humans, in our human mind and our human patterns, we get into like the comparison, and I'm 30, I should be here by now. And we just should ourselves, and we condition ourselves. And that's actually setting up this energetic prism. And you're just in that pattern. And that's a Saturn thing. So when we look at your chart, we can see, your unique blueprint. And my thing is like, well, you're a magical creature. So if you're a magical creature, then why would you do the same thing somebody else does? Because you have different specific needs. And we start there.
I love that. It's interesting. I know I had told you that I've been into astrology all of my life. Now, I'm not as well versed as you are, but I have been, I used to do, I used to break out the ephemeris light years before the computers actually did that work for you with the book. And I would look and I would do just basic charts for my friends where all the planets were when they were born. And so that I've been doing for a million years. And I know what you mean. Like every single chart is absolutely unique.
They're fascinating. Like
it really is.
Yeah.
I find it amazing. So you put this all together, which I think is extremely unique. I've never seen anybody do this before. The past life regression, the transformational transformational coaching, because you put together the astrology and the past life regression.
Yeah, like not necessarily at the same time. Usually, if we're going to do a regression, that would happen in a coaching, a package, a coaching session. Okay. I am putting together, and I don't know when I'm going to bring it out, but it's going to be an online course, like Get the Love You Want. And it does start out with a regression that you can listen to on audio and do on your own.
Oh, really?
So it's like, to uncover your blocks, and then you move through reprogramming.
That's going to be amazing.
It's almost like reverse engineering. Like, okay, what is it I don't want? Let's find that feeling and let's go back. Well, what I want instead, let's find that feeling and let's redo the wiring. Because really, when you break it down, it's like you've gotten your wires crossed with limiting beliefs.
So can I give you an example and maybe you could talk us through it? Mm-hmm. So let's say that there's someone who's spent a lot of years in... I don't like to label, but we're going to use it anyway. Like narcissistically abusive relationships, toxic relationships. So someone who's, so you get it. So like, how would you, like somebody comes to you and says, oh, I've been, my husband or my wife or my whatever, and I've been going through this for so many years. And how can you help me? And what would you present to them? How would you talk to them about this?
There's going to be, if you're just, it kind of depends on where you are. It's like start where you are, and if you're in it and you're in denial, or you're just realizing it and you're in shock, or you're out of it, but you're trying to like kind of get your balance back.
Right.
And I don't believe in forcing. I don't believe in taking a hard line. And then there's the place where you're out and you've been out, but you want to start dating again and you're afraid you're going to make the same mistake again. Like there's all these different stages.
That's so true. Oh my, I've been through all of them. I know exactly.
It's just kind of like, I think I might be, but I don't want to believe it. And you're looking in as an observer from the outside and you're like, yeah, like, and all their friends, of course, are just like, girl, you need to ditch that guy. Like, and you're not ready and you haven't wrapped your head around it. And what's happening is usually, this is how you got there to start with. If that's true, then the dominoes fall and it means something about you. I'm that person, right? I'm this person, and it's hard to it's shock. You can't believe a loved one, someone that close to you is doing that.
Yeah.
There's trauma to deal with.
Right.
And so it's like it's handled with care. I mean, really, because if someone's in that situation, generally everybody's either dismissing them and telling them they're not, because the other person, the narcissist puts on a good show. That's the whole game. And they're dismissing themselves. So like, this can't be true. Or it's like, well, why don't you leave? Well, you're in like freeze mode. There's a certain amount of terror that comes with it.
You're right. We are all different. There's all different situations. Totally.
Yeah, I think just we've got to meet where we're at, and then figure out what's supportive. Is it like if we compared it to, dieting? I'm not real good at like just being like no more. The minute I say no more of this, like I'm cutting it off. If that's something I feel like I need, I become over focused on it.
Thank you, Kimmy. I'm trying to figure out how to do that too.
Oh, and it's like Instead, you fill yourself up with all the good things so that you eventually just don't even want that anymore. It's a non-issue. So start by filling yourself, filling up. It's like, okay, so how do we support you?
It's true.
How do we support you? How do we support you? Support, 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 support.
Like, are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to handle a thing. No, if it in a perfect world, I'll be able to have admins and moderators do that for me.
No.
I was trying to maybe with someone that anyway. So I apologize. So can you please say that last thing part again? Hi Heather, welcome. Glad you're here.
So different stages, like there's so many different stages, meeting somebody where they're at and then finding the support.
The support. That's
probably exactly what they don't have.
Yeah.
That's the missing piece, and they don't know how to support themselves, and it's just become this, giant black hole. And it's like, okay, like you can't just like push. I know this is what's best for you, so you need to do it.
Yeah, it has to be in the person's own.
It's like building the resources, building the landing pads, building the tools. It's like, okay, let's get you stronger. Let's get you more centered. Let's get you an outrigger. Like, so you can, there's outside support and it's not anybody involved, and like, what other support do you need? And start working from that angle.
Yes. Makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And it's fascinating because I'm thinking back to 8 years ago when I first, left and started my brand new life. And the thing, what you're saying is so true. The friends I did not have at that point, and support I didn't have.
Yeah.
And I knew it was me, and I had to do my thing, whatever that was, and I was just learning. And it would have been wonderful if I had a coach at that time. If somebody like you existed, and I knew you, and I was able to connect, that would have been great. It wasn't my part of my journey, but I love that you're here for others. I love that you're here for others, because it would be so much like a breath of fresh air,
And it's like in that situation, you've lost your self-worth has been eroded, and you've lost faith in yourself, and you've lost trust. So you're kind of flattened. So the first step would be to build that back up.
Yes, absolutely. So let me ask. So another question along those lines, I feel drawn. So let's say that's exactly why someone's coming to you. They've had this past, and now you want to take them through a past life regression. Are you able to find out like what life and when this started, the pattern started, or how does that work?
I mean, there's tons of lives. There's tons of places we can go.
Excuse me. Great question, Shell. That's exactly what we're finding out right now. Shell wants to know, how do you assist someone who is in this type of relationship?
Yeah. Well, what we were just talking about was, we start where you are. So we got to figure out exactly where you're at and what you need. Mm-hmm. And then support from there, because every situation is different. There's different stages of it. And part of it is like getting the idea that there is help and there is hope and there is a way out and you can do it, just like opening the door to that. I open to the possibility of something different. Things can be different.
Yes, open to possibility. I love that.
Sometimes a little bitty. It's like just a little bitty crack of light, because anything else is going to be too much. It's going to be overwhelming. True.
I wish. Could you do me a favor? If your name still says only Facebook user, please be so kind as to tell us your name. Is asking that we probably have different sun signs in our many past lives. How do those traits carry over with us?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I don't really go into it. I mean, I haven't needed that information. It doesn't really. When we do a past life, and you give the subconscious a very specific directive. And I work with you before the session on that. And it's like the karmic cause of. So if you're really attracted, like I had a friend who, she's very, very in love with Spain and everything's Spanish.
Okay.
And she speaks Spanish and she's drawn there. She feels good there. She loves going there. And we did a regression. Like, what is the karmic cause of my attraction? Or you could do the karmic cause of your a gift or a talent.
Okay.
Or you could do the karmic cause of, you know, a relationship. A relationship dynamic. Yeah. So you want to tell exactly where to go. Like very specifically. I want to know this. Like one thing. And then we go back and we go into one life and we do 5 scenes.
Oh.
And so we see what's causing what you're experiencing now.
Mm-hmm.
How does that relate? So the point is, when you get to we go through death. And the question is, between the time you die and that you go into spirit, do you hang on to, so as a human, when you're dying, there's ideas and beliefs. The question is, do they carry? Is there a carryover? So once you're up in spirit after the human death, are you still being like, nobody really loves, or whatever was your pain in that life, are you taking it with you, or are you letting go of it? So if we're going back to karmic cause, there is something that you took with you.
That's so interesting, because when I think about, and I'm thinking, you know, for myself, because I'm the only head that I'm in right now is mine. When I'm thinking of like life between lives, and I would like to think that I would release anything that I haven't already released instead of bringing it back into another life. Is that an intentional thing that we do? Like, well, maybe somebody hasn't really learned the true self-love thing and they're still diving into these, you know, unhealthy relationships. And so I guess we're going to come back into the next life and take that class again, that earth class again.
Yeah, I think it's a process.
Yeah.
I think it's natural. I think it is, you know, could be because we can, you know, every single one of us, there's not something we're not going to find. It's not like, oh, you don't have, there's nothing to go back to. So it usually, I mean, some of the past lives, they can be very traumatic. Like that's the whole deal. It's trauma.
That's true. And so if we don't release the trauma in one life, we're going to bring it back in another. So you were saying that when you do the regressions, you take them back to one life, 5 scenes. Is that what you said?
Yep.
What would those scenes be? How would you ask somebody what those scenes are? Like, how would you guide them? Is what I'm saying.
So I give them directions, and it's like we're going back to the first scene, and then you get led, essentially. So anytime in a regression, it's kind of like being in a dream, and it depends on if the person is auditory, kinesthetic, or visual. So if I say bell, do you hear a bell? Do you sense a bell? Or do you see a bell?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Learning too, you know, like, are you a note taker? Do you like to listen? I have to touch. I'm kinesthetic. Like, I can't remember if I'm driving from one place to another and it's new, I have to be driving. I cannot be in the passenger seat. I won't remember a thing.
Huh. Okay. That makes sense.
Do, you know, and that's kinesthetic. So mine would come in more as sensing. And what you do is you trust the first impression, then it fills in.
Gotcha.
So we go in and we're like, we find out, you know, are you a man or a woman? What color is your skin? Is it day or night? We set up the scene and you get these simple questions. Your brain goes, dun, dun, dun. How old are you? Okay. What are you doing? What's going on? Okay. You know, and like a recent one that I did, like, she gets a vocal block for singing and she wants to sing professionally. And in that life, she basically was like, you know, one of the first scenes, it was like, I feel fear. I feel scared. Like I saw something I shouldn't have seen. She knew it immediately.
Okay.
And this was, like, I don't know, 1300s, like way back.
Right.
And by the end, she was beheaded.
Oh.
Of course, throat chakra, right?
Of course, yeah. And I'm like, yeah,
Of
absolutely.
course, you have a blocked throat chakra.
Wow.
So it's one layer. It's not like, oh, she knows that, so it's like not a problem anymore. But it's this perspective that helps.
Is it knowing? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
Well, when you so at that point, like there's this new information. So when you you find yourself blocked or in fear, okay, that's coming through because of that traumatic experience, and I know that. So I'm not so, I can. Logic doesn't always work. I use some like polyvagal stuff too.
What is that?
Like working with the nervous system, like certain breathing techniques, or sometimes you got to speak to the body directly. You can't really reason it out if it's a deep fear.
How would you speak to the body? I've not heard this before. This is all new and exciting. So.
Oh, you haven't. There's certain exercises you can do for literally for the nervous system. So if you are like, and I'm not an expert at this, but I absolutely use them for myself. For instance, one that I love, and so this is kind of the fight flight response. So if you're in fight flight, your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system is kicked on. You can't reason with it, right? You're not going to reason with it. It's not like just calm down. It's no,
Calm down.
danger. So
Right.
if it's a fight thing, like a trauma thing coming up, maybe there was a time, and this could be literally or more figuratively, where your no didn't work.
Your what didn't work? I'm sorry.
Your no.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? Maybe you were talked about, maybe, whatever it was, like you didn't want it and it happened anyway. And so when that gets triggered, it kicks back on. And it doesn't, trauma doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's how you processed it and how bad it affected you. It's subjective.
Yeah.
So if you go push out and complete the motion really slowly and really like and push, like use your muscles and push, and you're like, no. And sometimes like it's like I like it a lot for when you feel like other people are in your head or there's opinions about you, like pushing it out of your brain, like
no.
And what happens is, so do you feel a difference in your nervous system right now?
Feels clearer.
Yeah, kind of like everything let go.
Yes.
You've just turned off that fight flight because you completed the motion that you didn't get to complete before.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I mean, I know fight or flight. I manifested stage 4 lymphoma because of all the years of fight or flight that I suppressed, or that I lived it and I suppressed my truth and any voice or whatever.
We don't think there's a way out because there wasn't before.
Right.
So I've got 2 big elephants tattooed on my back. I love it. They started coming to me in meditation in 2012. And I went to see them in 2017 in Thailand at the rescue.
Saw pictures of you with elephants. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like so in awe. Oh, I want to do that.
They're amazing. And they just, when they're breaking in the old way, they're trying to retrain the villagers to do it in a new way. They're breaking the elephants. They keep the baby away from its mother. And you can hear it screaming, and because it can't get away, it's not big enough yet. Like it could as a full-grown elephant, they can pretty much do whatever they want. But it can't as a baby, and it's in so much torment because they're very social creatures that somebody has to watch it around the clock because it will step on its trunk to kill itself.
Oh my God.
And they grow up, and like circus elephants, you know, they've always got the rope around their neck. They think they can't get away. They can walk away. They think that they can't get away because they couldn't when they were young.
So they're programmed.
And that's what we do.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, yes, I know, because I've lived that personally. I'm so sorry for the elephants. I know
It's called learned helplessness. I mean, that's the
learned helplessness. Yes, exactly. Learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And that can be passed down.
Absolutely.
I witnessed this with my mom.
Absolutely.
I realized that, you know, once I learned what it was, and when I started waking up to the whole thing and whatever, like 8 years ago, I realized, and I heard learned helplessness. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Anxiety.
Saw it. It was passed on to me, and it was a family thing.
Like, I can't get out. Like, that's just the way it is. That's just the way the world is.
Victim, right? Everything is happening to you, and you're this big victim.
Which is why. So what's the opposite? What's the antidote to victim? Creatrix.
That's my next question. Here it is.
Creatrix. So if you can get that, you can study this. It's the Karpman, Kartman drama triangle. So victim, persecutor, and rescuer. They're all a role of the victim. And we get stuck in this, and we can actually change back. Like, think about it. That's it. We can change back and forth in one conversation. We'll switch roles when we're in this, and we don't feel like we can get out, right? We don't know what else to do. So the empowered dynamic it's you know, the healing part of this, and it's when you become creator, challenger, and coach.
I love that.
So this is where it's not like you can't stay in that triangle, in that paradigm, in that dimension, and get anywhere but victim. So you try all these different things, and you're like, so frustrated. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how else to respond. I don't know how to get my needs met. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a matter of stepping completely out. Like a total shift. And there is a way. And that's why we do the, like, when I say emotional and energetic mastery, and we really start with like the self-love, but it's a matter of shifting your energy.
I guess.
Like on the inside.
Yes.
And then everything responds to you. People start treating you differently. You don't have the vibe vampire experiences or the boundary crossing experiences. It just stops because you're on your throne, and you've taken up that inner authority and role of creatrix.
Yes. I never heard the term before until I saw that you use it. But I guess
feminine, like we're magical feminine. Like a creator just doesn't. I'm like,
I love
doesn't
it.
do it for me.
I love it. I want to welcome everybody. Welcome here. Welcome. Holly and Melba and Erica and Diane Hoffman, Heather, Kim McElwain, Kim Siegel, Elizabeth Gates. Hello. Welcome. You are all amazing. And if I don't say your name, in my case, I can't see it. I know you're there, and I love you. You're amazing too. So this is really, really cool. All right.
It's my life. It just sort of became my life.
I get it. And it's, you know, what's really interesting is that how many people have been through these type of situations, you know?
Yeah.
These really, and I know clearly I attract them into my life, which is great because clearly I'm on a healing journey. I'm not attracting the people that want to make me do something, because nobody can make me do anything. I do what I want to do, and once my spirit guides guide me, and then I probably will do it. But I always do ask for my guidance from my guides. But I know I've got free will. But still, but it's beautiful to attract other people who are also healing. You know, I think a lot of my personal teachings would trigger some people who aren't where I am. Once you know that you're responsible for your own, that you create your own reality, once you get, I think for me, that's what I don't know if you've experienced this. For me, that's what I've noticed. The point before people realize they create their own reality and they're blaming everybody else because they've been through a lot of hard shit like rape and everything else, or they realize they create their own reality, including the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And they find that empowering. Have you recognized this at all, or what's your experience?
Yeah, and I think there's obviously there's a delicateness, meeting people where they are. Like in hypnosis, I could meet a client at the first session. I'm like, after talking to them, I know exactly where we need to go, exactly what we need to do. I'm like, but you don't. The whole point, my whole job is to support you into a place where you're ready.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're still projecting and blaming, you haven't had the support to be able to hold. So it's like, how do we support you to get you? I call it landing pads.
What do you call it?
Like landing pads.
Landing pads. Okay.
Landing pads. So it has to do with triggers. If I called you, I don't know, if I got mad at you and called you a purple grape or something.
A purple grape?
I know. Like,
man,
it doesn't really hit home, right? But like something else might. Landing pads.
Landing pads. Okay. Interesting. By the way, I have my microphone over there instead of in front of me all this time. I hope you were all able to hear me.
No, I do hear you better now. But like the landing pad is like, it can be for criticism. So you believe that about yourself already.
Right.
Or you don't believe you're a purple grape. You're like, that's just like whatever. Bounces right off. Doesn't have a landing pad. We need that for the good stuff too. You're lovable. Does it bounce off? Does it land?
Molly. You're such a purple grape.
Yeah. It's like, well, look, okay, like, I remember being in the grocery store once and somebody in the produce section was like, you look so cute today. And my immediate reaction was like, I look behind me for who is behind me. And I'm like, okay, we have a self-worth problem. But it's like landing pad. I didn't have a landing pad for that. Like, you can't be talking about me. Like, who looks cute? So they work both ways.
True. Awesome. This is great. By the way, I think our background, a little pat on my own back. I think our background looks really pretty. I made it just before we came on, and I'm like looking at it. And I really appreciate the way it just highlights us. And you look really cute today, Kasey.
Gold stars.
Gold stars. I'm saying.
My favorite.
I love it. So, guys, if you have questions for Kasey, excellent. Thank you. Please go ahead and drop them in the comments. So I want to go to astrology. Go back there because it's such an important topic and it's so interesting to me, and I know it is to many, and I know it all ties in with everything that you do, but specifically you post these amazing astrology updates every day. How can we use, now let's talk like we're all beginners, like nobody knows anything except you. Okay, so this way everybody can have some kind of understanding. How can the average person who doesn't study astrology use astrology to make well-timed decisions in life, or wherever you want to take that question? I'm interested in whatever your response is. Thank you.
You talk to me. Okay, so if we do a session, there are things that I look for that are, I'm trying to decide how to, because if you're a beginner and you're not looking at your chart, you can't tell when something's going to hit.
That's true.
Right? And you don't know what you're looking for. And you
let's say somebody has their chart. Okay, they've gone to the astrology, they've printed out their birth chart. Okay, now I've got this thing in front of me and I have the basic idea of what it is. I know my sun is in Aries and my moon is in whatever. But so how do the planetary transitions affect me?
So we would look at the planets individually and we would look at what they mean, and we would look at your chart and how it's set up, and we'd look at, first of all, broad strokes. What planet is where? What planet is in what sign? So like right now, this week, we've got Sun and Venus moving together in Libra. We're moving into a new moon eclipse next Tuesday. Eclipse seasons are always big times of change. The number one thing I would tell people going through a 2-week eclipse portal, so the 2 weeks between a new moon eclipse and a full moon eclipse, we call it the portal of manifestation. So I would say energetically, I would be doing the work of tuning into my core values and desires, connecting with the feeling of what I want in the future, and holding that as consistently and strongly as I can through that 2-week eclipse portal, because you're like standing in the threshold between two doors. And it's like all the molecules get thrown up and they're very malleable. So I would want to hold my energy on what I am for.
Okay, so this is the eclipse portal 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, you're saying?
Yeah, and that's happening the 25th through the 8th. They can be times of big change. Big things can come up in your lives. And so when we look at your chart, I would see like, so the new moon eclipse on the 25th at 2 degrees Scorpio, do you have something at 2 degrees Scorpio in your chart? What area of life, what house is that falling in? Is it your self and body, your identity? Is it your resources and your self-worth? That's number 2. Is it number 4, like home and family, your home environment, childhood past, ancestors? So we can look at what's going on. Like, where is this happening? This is a new beginning. It's a superpowered new beginning. It's the beginning of a new chapter. Now, this one's going to be in Scorpio and it's South Node. So it's like not only wrapping up whatever came undone on May 15th, May 16th, beginning of June, that was the full moon eclipse in Scorpio. So we've done the work over the summer. This is like a new beginning with a new relationship to your shadow.
To your shadow?
I would say, yeah, because the South Node is karma, fate, past.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a new moon eclipse on the South Node, that's a new beginning in relationship to all that stuff.
Wow.
And it all came up, that full moon eclipse square Saturn on May 15th is when everything came up, especially if it hit your chart personally. Saturn's been retrograde, it's about to go direct. So we've done the work, basically, and now we're harvesting. This new moon eclipse is with Venus. Venus is blessing bringer. Love and money.
Blessing bringer, okay.
By way of self-worth, it always starts with a self-value. So I would think about it in general terms. Now, I'm not looking at one specific chart. In general terms, this is an opportunity, if we're conscious, to start afresh with a new relationship to like the shadow self, subconscious, our underworld.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much to know, and there's so much. I can't decide if I'm hot or cold. There's so much to know, and there's so much to ask. But I'm going to go to some of the questions, if I might. I don't want to. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about that, or?
No, that's good for now. Let's do questions.
All right. So Kaz Champion asks, how does the chart work if you don't know what time you were actually born?
You need to know what time you were born to be specific. We can do a sunrise chart. We can, generally what I do with clients is I'm going to talk to them. I will pull a couple of different charts because your ascendant is going to be different. And that's the way this world sees you and the way you see the world. So it's your identity and your interface. Mm-hmm. It can be kind of like your first impression or mask in certain situations if it's way different than your sun sign. If it's similar to your sun sign, they're going to be the same. But knowing what I know about astrology, I would kind of quiz that person and see, we would play around with a couple of different ones and see what fits, and the moon's another fast mover. So I would check the moon's on the cusp of something. I would check for moon in this sign, moon in that sign, and see what aligns. And then we could narrow down. So I like to do that. We can, there's also, you can also research. Usually there's hospital records or something you can find if you dig deep enough.
I dug pretty deep, and I still can't find my actual birth records. And I was born in Brooklyn, and you'd think that they were kind of up on things in New York, but not so. So, and I did it. I checked out for years. And my mom, I think I told you because you did my chart. My mom said I was born at about 10 o'clock at night. Right. But after years of reading, what I could have been, whatever, and talking, I mean, long before I talked to you, but we did talk. I know my rising sign is Scorpio, and I know my moon is in Pisces. To what degree, I don't know, but I know that's correct. But so what you're saying for Kaz, that if you were like, let's say she was your client, you would figure out what you would ask her questions, and then based on her answers, you would be able to figure out, well, is her rising sign couldn't be that but it could be this, or right? That makes sense.
Yeah. And I've done that in this work for several people. And you kind of did that for yourself. And and yours is like, well, and it's kind of like, oh, that doesn't resonate.
Right. There's some things when I read it, or, I'm like, yeah, even though I know it's Scorpio, that doesn't resonate, but I think that's whatever. But that's the most important thing, because all the other planets, like you said, those are fast movers, the rising sign and the moon. Right. But the other planets, it doesn't matter what time you were born. It matters what day and where you were born. Correct.
It matters as far as exact aspects.
Oh, yeah. Right? Well, that's true too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we want to try to get it as close as possible. But when we're talking about, I guess we should mention, when we're talking about general, my posts are going to be the general energy. This is what's happening out there. There's another layer. It's how it's hitting your chart. So there might be a positive aspect between two planets for everybody, and it might be hitting your chart in a challenging way. Right?
Interesting. Yeah. And
that's why you'll be like, oh, that doesn't, I'm not having a really good time right now. That I'm like, oh, that's probably nailing your chart. So
I've seen it the other way too, where I've been feeling great, and the energy of the collective isn't as uplifted. Absolutely. And I'm like, but I feel really good right now. But that's very interesting. Yeah. I do. And I'm still not entirely clear, even though you've kind of explained it to me, but I'm still not quite clear on how to see my chart with the other, but this isn't the time for it. I don't want to confuse everybody else.
I think it just takes practice, but I think and zooming in on one thing at a time, because you can look at it as overwhelming. So you go one. But I think, when there's discrepancies, it's not that the astrology is off. I've never, if I actually look into it for somebody, it's not. I'm like, oh, there it is, and they're like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
What about this? Now this is interesting, because I feel this for myself, that I feel like I've healed a lot of the stuff that I came in with. So my birth chart represents where I was, but it doesn't necessarily represent where I am now.
Not true.
Really? Okay. Well, it's interesting, because I have that's my experience. But please enlighten.
Well, okay. Let's see if you resonate with this. It's your blueprint.
Yes.
And we all have conscious choice.
Right.
And every single one of those planets and aspects has a high expression and a low expression.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that? Because not everybody's going to understand that.
Okay, so let's say Saturn. Yeah. Saturn's a challenging one. It's one of the malefics with Mars. They are ones that they're kind of troublemakers, problem causers. Saturn, well, if we boil it down, Saturn's authority.
Okay.
Rules, authority. So you think about growing up, and you're a child, so you really just can't be in your authority. There's no way. That influence, that energy, so it's in your chart, it has to come from somewhere else. It cannot come from you. So as you move through life and you mature, because Saturn's gifts come with maturity, you're able to step into your inner authority. If you don't, that authority is going to keep coming from outside you. It's going to be your partner or the law or the man or wherever it comes from, because you haven't gotten on your throne. You haven't owned your own Saturn. It's yes, I'm 35. I put myself to bed at a decent time, or I don't, and then I have consequences. So you couldn't do that when you were a kid. Somebody did it for you.
Right.
That was Saturn coming through. It's still in your chart, but it's coming in a different way. Then you grow.
What do you mean by the expression? The high expression or the low expression?
Well, it's a different expression.
Okay.
So you grow and evolve, and then you grow into a new relationship with that energy. So
That makes
like
sense.
if you had say you had a square to Mars or something, this or it's right over your ascendant. It could come. So Mars is our motivation, our desire, our passion, our masculine energy, our drive. It's our leadership, our ability to go out after what we want. It's our self-assertion. It's also our anger. So before you get a good relationship with that energy, you might be angry, or you might attract people who are angry because you're stuffing it inside. Or maybe growing up, you found yourself in fights all the time. People just wanted to fight with you. Well, it's this Mars energy up front. As you grow and mature and you learn about this energy, you get a different, if you're conscious, if you choose to, you could just stay there, right? What you're talking about is the growth process and healing process. And you develop a new relationship with it, and you're harnessing this, you're using it. And you become a leader.
I see what you're saying. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
It becomes very powerful. So the challenging aspects that kind of seem like a big drag, or you always have problems, have the potential. They're very dynamic, and they have the potential to make you very, very powerful, very dynamic. Because we usually have a better handle on the stuff we had to effort for than the stuff that came naturally.
That's true. That is true. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much for that. Cheryl's Silly has a question. She goes, I had my chart done in the 90s, and I have no idea how to read it. I've forgotten what the preparer told me. Where do you go to find information on how to read one?
Right here. I'm actually, I've got 2 dates, November 3rd and November 5th. I'm offering a 2-hour beginner free, how to astro workshop. And we're going to go over all the basics of how to pull your chart online and kind of find your way around it. It's going to be an overview, because I'm going to try to keep it to 90 minutes or 2 hours. But we'll go over
in the comments right now.
We'll go over glyphs and signs and houses, and finding your ascendant, and just the basics of what you're looking at and how to find your way around it. And I think what I'm going to do I'm going to use the moon as an example, because it's something you can work with really easily every month, because it goes all the way around the zodiac every single month. Makes all the aspects to the planets, goes through every sign, and it's a great way to follow the moon, and then start oh, that's what that feels like. That's what that energy feels like. That's what it feels like when this happens. So you can really get inside the astrology.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Great question, Cheryl. How important is it to know the, what are they called, of the planets, the archetypes of the planets?
It depends on how far you want to go with astrology. If you want to use the planets, you got to know what they mean. But it's really fun. If you think about everybody around the dining room table, you've got this one and that one, and the personalities. Some astrologers don't like to personify the planets. My mind, I loved art history, and literally I remembered everything because of the stories.
Okay. Yeah.
About how things came. So the stories helped me put this stuff into action. And I'm oh, we've got this planet, it's got these characteristics. So keywords are great things. I'm Mars it's the masculine, it's assertion, it's passion, it's desire, it's motivation, it's leadership, it's initiation. It's anger, it's standing up for ourselves. It's how we go after what we want. And so if I take that and say, okay, we've got this guy, and we know that it can be an agitator. So Mars activates wherever it's at in the chart.
Right.
So if you've got Scorpio rising, that means Scorpio is your first house of self. We've got Mars in Scorpio. Well, Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpios. It's very strong there. It's also coming through fixed water, Scorpio, deep water. And it's activating your first house. That's your chart ruler activating your first house of self. So you're going to be fired up for the 2 months that Mars transits Scorpio.
Oh,
right?
Okay, thank you for that. That's
It's not there right now.
Terrifying, actually.
So we know, like, you can just simply look at, okay, like an action word. What Venus brings blessings.
Okay.
Mars activates.
And the moon, I've always been told and understood that it's emotion.
Moon is a little bit different.
Okay.
It's two luminaries. It works with the sun, of course.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It reflects the light of the sun. Sunlight of consciousness, moon is subconscious.
Okay.
So moon, as subconscious, when it goes through the signs and makes all its planetary aspects, this is like our day-to-day feels and moods, our intuition, what feels good, so when I look at the moon sign, like the moon is in, where is it right now? It's in Leo. It'll be Wednesday, what day? Thursday. Virgo, Thursday, Friday. Leo was Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's waning. So we go waxing or waning. So that's, are we decreasing energy, increasing in energy? Are we building towards something? Are we banishing something? Then we look at the sign. Where's it at? So if it's shining through Leo, like it has been today and yesterday,
right?
It's coming through the sign of the heart, the sign of the inner child. Creativity, creative self-expression is how, so moon, moods, how we feel secure, how we feel good about ourselves in life. Shining through Leo, creative self-expression is where it's at. That's what's going to feel good. You're not really going to want to buckle down. When moon moves into Virgo, that's more the earth sign. It's more of a practical get things done.
This is so interesting because we can utilize this information to help us do whatever we're doing instead of fighting against the energy. We can go with the flow of whatever the energy is. Oh, I love that.
So like I have, I have this tax thing I need to do sitting on my desk. It's been sitting on my desk for a couple of days. And I looked at the moon signs and I'm like, Friday.
I hear you.
But I know Virgo is going to be like a cleanup, take names, get things done type.
Right.
Let's get it done. Leo, I'm going to be fighting with myself the whole time. Like, let's focus on creative stuff right now. Then we'll do that because I've got time so I can arrange it. I don't have to do it right now.
Right. So stick with the creative stuff because that's just flowing. And then when Virgo, on Friday, when Virgo is in place there, then you're like,
yeah.
What planet are we talking about again? Where's Mars and Virgo?
What?
I lost track of what planet we were talking about. And being
talking about the moon.
Oh,
so that's how you like that. That's your moods. It's a faster mood. 2.5 days in each sign. It moves fast, so we can get a good idea. But here's the thing: like what I always tell people, and this is what I've got in the freebie about the moon. Like it's got everything in it. So through the signs, all that stuff. But what I like to do too is void moons because I know that I've had a very personal experience with pushing against void moons because I tend to make my to-do list and I'm like horns out and like this is what we're doing today, and void moons like no, you're not.
What is a void moon? I see you write that all the time. I've never heard that expression before. I saw you use it. So
okay, so moon enters a sign, it goes through, it makes from that sign planet aspects to every planet, and I'm including the sun when I say that, from where it's at, from every sign. And then when it's void, it goes void at the exact time it has made the last aspect. So it goes offline. It stopped communicating until it hits the cusp of the next sign and starts again.
Oh.
So this is like every other day. It could be so what we watch for is when it's a long one during the day, because you're not going to be good at making decisions. You're not going to want to start new things. This is totally for sticking to routine or wrapping up. And if you're trying to push against it, that's when it's like nothing is going your way. You're just frustrated all day long. And so if you can mark down those big void moons that are during your work days, don't plan meetings, don't have a medical procedure because we're kind of floaty, directionless. Because the moon's actually, so if you start testing this, you will notice it. Like I was trying to purchase an appliance or something and I had it all lined out the day before. I had everything done. I had all the research done. All I had to do was pull the trigger. I tried to do it on the void moon, not happening. Like literally, I just gave up. I'm like, I'll just do it tomorrow. It just wasn't working. And the next day it worked fine. Like everything came back together.
Right. I had a situation like that the other night when I was trying to do a live stream. I never in my life have I ever been unable to live stream to Facebook, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what the situation was. I don't know. We have some great questions here. Thank you for that. You're so filled with great information. Again, Kasey Ford's free astrology course is in the comments. So I put it there twice. You can find it, click on it. She has 2 dates in early November. Where'd Sandy go? Sandy Samadhi says, do you feel there are indicators in charts for healing or psychic abilities? I have a stellium in my 12th house, and I recently learned that's significant, but don't know too much yet. Thanks.
Okay. What sign is your 12th house? Do you know? So what happens is a stellium is several planets bunched up in the same. So you're weighted. You're basically really weighted. Your energetic blueprint is there's a lot of energy in one spot of your life. It's coming through that sign. That's one energetic prism. It's coming through one sign. So that is weighted in one area of life. So what area of life is the 12th house? It's the subconscious. It's hidden. It's also the house of self-undoing. Like back in the day, the 12th house it was like the house of sorrows and losses.
Okay.
Because it's like your blind spot. It's like where you can self-sabotage. And so I call it the house of self-undoing, but it's also, it's the hidden and unseen and spiritual.
Sandy's saying Taurus and Aries.
What's on the front, on the 0-degree cusp of the 12th? It must be Aries?
There's a lag time with live streams.
Yeah, so Aries is fire. It's Mars's sign. It's the first sign. First sign in your 12th house. The first sign, Aries, fire, in the house of Pisces. The last sign of the zodiac. Spiritual, hidden, unseen.
Yeah.
So you could be basically a leader. Like we just talked about Mars, Aries, initiation, first sign of zodiac, first sign of the year. Number 1 coming out. Let's start this. It's like the energy of little green shoots pushing up through the dirt. This is your subconscious. Yeah? Okay.
Planets, including the sun in Taurus, and 2 planets, including Chiron and Aries, all in the 12th. Interesting.
There's a lot of action and activity under the surface in your subconscious. So yes, you could be very, very perceptive. Chiron in Aries is going to be a wound to the self about the right to exist.
The right to exist. That's heavy.
It is. I mean, it's all, I think about it. We all have that. Like I'm a burden. That's a root core belief. But yes, there are indicators. Typically, you're going to look to something like the 12th house. 12th house is a water house. It's a karmic house. It's a house of Pisces. It's associated with Neptune. I would also look to Neptune. Yeah, and so having a loaded 12th houses definitely means there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Cool. You know what? I'm listening to you tonight, and I'm more interested in astrology than I have been in a lot of years. So I love that. I thank you for that. Therese asks, she goes, I'm curious as to how Western astrology differs from, say, in Chinese or Indian. Great.
Well, I don't, I know a bit about Vedic astrology. It has to do with the precession of the equinoxes, and that Western didn't. So Vedic astrologers will say that Western, like we're not using the right. So if you look at your chart from Western to Vedic, you're going to have a different, pretty much. You might be the same rising sign, but you're basically going to have a different rising sign. And then they're going to use all of the Vedic mythology. So basically, if you're not, and I love it, and I find it equally right on. But I'm not familiar with all the Vedic astrology or the Vedic myths, all the gods and goddesses. It's a foreign language. I know some of it. I don't know all of it. And if you're not familiar with that it's a whole new can of worms. So, and I find truth in Western astrology. So that's, it just feels right to me. I don't deal with Chinese at all.
I read that I was a snake on a placemat many years ago, but I don't study Chinese astrology.
On the placemat, yeah.
Placemat in a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah. So they're different. You're talking about sidereal versus tropical, and how the zodiac is placed when you're talking about Western versus Vedic.
Interesting.
That's a big difference. And there's a very big difference in understanding it and understanding all the terminology. And the moon has its nakshatras, and like you're gonna go. And I would say, like, if you're a beginner, like, you do not want to be looking at both at the same time.
Yeah, I think I know I told you privately that I had a Vedic astrology chart done 4 or 5 years ago, and my sun sign in Vedic astrology was Pisces. It was Aries, and my rising sign was Aquarius and not Scorpio. It was very interesting.
It's because everything shifted just a bit.
And there was still a lot of truth to it, but again, I'm
like, and they interpret just from a different place too, like the different stories, a whole different culture.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Thank you. Great question, Therese. Thank you. Erica,
I love human design.
Say that again.
I love human design. I don't do human design, but I do bring it into sessions because I like to, and I'm learning as I go, but I really like to bring in your type and your strategy in coaching sessions, because it really helps people start to tune into, like, trust themselves. Because what we're working on is the self-value, and from your energetic blueprint and what's right for you, and not doing all the shoulds, and really stepping into your power, walking your path, and creating your life, and not doubting yourself, and not giving your power away. And so there are specific strategies and your authority. Like, I'm a manifesting generator. I have to go with gut. I have to ask yes or no questions and look for the and follow that.
Interesting. Great question, Erica.
So
sorry, go ahead, Kasey, please.
Yes.
I just read your belly dance too, fellow belly dancer here. I thought I read most of your stuff. I didn't realize you belly danced.
Yeah. I started
doing a split.
I haven't since COVID, really, but like I started in 2003, taking lessons from a Saudi woman. Very basic, very strict. And then I moved to taking lessons with an Egyptian woman, which was more kind of kitchen dancing, follow along. And then I actually started taking workshops, and I did some of the 8 Elements training with Rachel Bryce in Portland, and I was performing and teaching some.
Really?
Yeah, and I just love it.
Lessons, but like, wow, you're really into it.
That's where
I love it. I still have my belt, my training belt. The belt with all the jingling things. You practice. I still have that.
Fun, man. They're so fun to make clay fly.
That's so cool. And then Sandy's saying, yes, I was depressed for decades until I started my healing journey. I hear you.
Yeah, because you just don't know. It's like your blind spot, and then you find it, and you're like, that's the 12th house.
Ooh, good point. Cherry Gutierrez says, so if we don't know the specific chart, can we still utilize the general astrology?
Absolutely. So that's what I do. I mean, that's like my baseline of the posts I make. Is like, here's what to watch for today. Here's what to watch for tomorrow. Like today and tomorrow. And so it would be more specific to you if it's landing on your chart specifically. But like, we've got Sun today, Sun squared to Pluto. Tomorrow is Venus squared to Pluto, because they're about to come together in a conjunction. So they're like just one after the other hitting things. A square to Pluto means you're probably like, you have the possibility, it's in the air, of something coming up that triggers you, that triggers your fear, insecurity. It's going to come up on the surface as maybe a control, like a power struggle or a control thing. What it is insecurity wire gets tripped. And like with Venus, like tomorrow, it would be through a relationship and about not feeling loved and valued deep down inside. What I always tell people is to like slow down. And when that trigger happens, if you can look beneath the surface and clock your motivation, like, wait, I'm about to react. Like you can see it escalating. Everybody's just doing, throwing down. It's getting to ultimatums and like, and so like, whoa. Red flag, step back. I knew something was going on with Pluto today. Like, what do I do? Wait, what am I really feeling? And why am I acting like this? And what do I need? Like, oh yeah, like that felt like a threat. If you can do that work now, because we're about to move into a Pluto-ruled moon eclipse on Tuesday, and we're going through the dark moon over the weekend, which is the time for deep release before your new moon regeneration, you just found something that you're ready to release. Actually, I don't want that. I don't like it when that happens. So maybe I'm willing to look at this fear right now and decide that maybe I am valuable no matter what anybody else does. And let's lock that in at the new moon eclipse.
Love that. Thank you. Great question, Cherry. Kimmy Siegel. Hi, Kimmy. Says, so you're basically using this as a tool to conquer limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. Because that's the work of the hypnosis and the rewiring. Like I said, like what the ultimate goal is empowerment. Creatrix, stepping out of the victim triangle, stepping into the empowerment triangle. Reclaiming your life from the patterns, the coping mechanisms, the whatever it's turned into for you, like whatever you're not liking, there's something going on beneath the surface, and we can use all these tools to uncover that and let you take back your power and start creating what you want. How do we create what we want? Well, we've got to generate the energy. What's affecting the energy? The limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the doubt, the fear, the rope around the neck, right? I call it like me with the elephants, it was always the process of becoming free. You ask me what my tattoos are, I'm like, it's the process of becoming free. Unlocking the mind.
Yes. I love that. Wow, you're amazing. We're going to wrap it up because it's been like an hour and a half, and I really appreciate the extra time. I know we talked about it ahead of time, so you knew we might run a little bit long. But I'm so glad you guys came with such amazing questions. Do we have time for one more question before we go?
Can I give you one more thing? Because we talked about the how to ask you, and we've got the link to the freebie. And there's a new app that I contributed on coming out November 1st. And so it's got way more moon stuff than this, but what I contributed was the moon signs and the moon transits and the moon phases. So you can basically look at your phone and know what sign the moon is in and what to do. I put affirmations in there. It's like everything. So you can get the keywords of that sign, what you're going to feel best doing that day, a little affirmation to go with it. And you just check in every day without having to refer to go find my post or whatever.
I love it. What is the link? Is that
it's SatMom, like SATMOM, SatMom.com.
Wait, say that again. SatMom.com.
Yeah. And if you go to /the-app, you can get on a list, so you'll be notified when it comes out, but it should be November 1st.
SatMom.com /the app.
THEAP. There's a dash. The-app.
The-app.
Yeah.
SatMom.com /the-app.
Yeah.
All these things are in the comments. Terry's saying so exciting. Heather says cool. Therese says give the info link to the class one more time. I did. It's right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You typed it in. I can't see it, but there it is.
There it is. It is there.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let me just make sure everybody's definitely helped me with lots.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kasey. This has been
Thanks
an
for
amazing
having me.
It's been my pleasure. Yeah, my absolute pleasure. You're amazing. And maybe you'd like to come back again sometime because you're so interesting. And I feel like we've just scratched the surface. So
we did. I mean, we can just go on forever, but it's time to eat.
No, me too. Me too. All right. Love you guys so much. And thank you again, Kasey Ford. You guys look at Kasey Ford. Go follow her go to her website, sign up, do the beautiful free class that she has on astrology, download the app, do all that stuff. Follow her on Facebook because she gives great, amazing, really detailed posts every day. And she rocks. What can I say? So
thank you.
I love you guys. I will see you all soon.
Bye.